Just in 2016, we found a Nazi operating base in the Arctic that we didn't know was there. So this stuff is real.
Or in Antarctica?
No, in the Arctic, in the north.
Okay.
Now, in 1946, there is a group of submarines, right? These were Hitler's U-2 submarines that at the end of the war ended up in South America. They were missing for 2 months. When they got to South America, they were seized, and the people on the boats, on the U-boats, were arrested. And they talked. They said, where were we? We were in Antarctica, dropping off about 2,000 scientists and the big man himself. And there is no evidence of Hitler ever being killed. We have none of that evidence. There was supposedly a body and a skull cap. That DNA tested as a woman. So we have nothing to prove that Hitler actually died that day. There is nothing. These guys say that they took him and 2,000 of his best scientists to Antarctica.
I forgot to make
This is in 46.
That's for Felicity.
So in 46, they say, okay, if this is what's going on, let's send an expedition to Antarctica to find them. So the Secretary of Defense, James Forrestal, this is a name, if you're in the UFO community or you like that subject, you've heard this name before. He was the first Secretary of Defense ever. And he had a lot to do with like the Roswell cover-up and some other things like that, right? But he got his. So he sends Admiral Byrd to Antarctica with a fleet of ships, weapons, and about 1,000 troops, and says, now officially we were there for scientific expedition, but they brought weapons and ships, gunships. They go there. They're supposed to be gone for about 8 months.
Scientific.
When Byrd comes back, he says something weird. He's interviewed and he says, we don't want to go to war with this new enemy. There's a new enemy that can fly from pole to pole instantly. He says this in 47. Okay, this expedition started in 46. It was about 7 months long. It was supposed to be 8, and they came back in February of 47. And on his way back, they stop in South America and then head back to the Pentagon to debrief. He makes that statement, which people thought was strange. Who is this new enemy that can fly from pole to pole? He's sworn to silence in the Pentagon. This is called Operation Highjump. For people that are in the UFO community, you'll know this one. It's the expedition of Admiral Byrd to Antarctica. The official story being scientific expedition, but what did he say happened when he got there? We know because his diary was released after his death by his son.
To his son.
Yeah. So in his diary, he tells us what actually happened in Antarctica.
Tell the official story first.
No, that's it. Is they said they went there for a scientific expedition and they left a month early.
Yes, that's the part I wanted
for no reason
to touch on.
Yeah.
So they go for the scientific expedition. What they bring,
and they come back with less men and less planes.
And they come back. Yes.
Yeah. People died there. And
they come back early with less men.
Yeah, and less
planes.
So what happened?
So
the diary tells a very different story than a scientific expedition. What he says is that, Chase, I love this issue. I knew you'd like this one. Yeah. Right. So this is what he says happened. Admiral Byrd, an American admiral that was sent to Antarctica to root out Nazis.
Nazis in Antarctica.
Right. Wild. And it's not that wild because we just found a base of theirs in the North Pole. So it's not wild at all. And there's actual documentation that they did do expeditions to Antarctica.
And we know
they did.
Hitler was all into this shit.
Oh, yeah. They were into the occult, and they believe that the Aryans actually came from inner Earth. People believe of an entrance to inner Earth and in Antarctica. So all of this tracks. There's nothing weird about any of this yet.
Yeah.
So what he does is he gets on one of these planes and he starts flying over a certain area in Antarctica.
But he brings with him.
They brought gunships for a science expedition.
Yeah, weird.
Right.
Yeah.
So in his actual diary, he talks about a specific day where something interesting happens. He gets on one of these planes and he flies over some of the areas of Antarctica. They're looking for something, right? He's searching for something, not the remaining remnants of Hitler's guys, right? Yeah. This was going to be their backup plan.
Yeah.
So anyway, he's flying over and he starts to see green fields and grass, and all of a sudden he looks and his thermometer shows it's actually now 74 degrees instead of freezing temperatures like it should be. Instead of sheets of ice, he's now over green fields. So he thinks that's pretty interesting. And then he sees an animal and he writes all this in his diary.
It's all in his diary, yeah.
It's a giant animal. And he realizes that's a woolly mammoth. How is this possible? And he keeps going. But
it's the Savage Land from X-Men.
Yeah, there you go, Savage Shadowland. So yeah, his instruments start spinning. and he loses control of his ship. And then he sees silently 3 disc-shaped craft come up and begin to escort him through this green field into a cave system. And he cannot control his plane. They're taking him right in. Yeah.
And they got a cool little emblem on the side.
Yeah. So when he looked at the plane, when the disc-shaped craft got closer, he realized that there were swastikas on these craft. Not the ones that they were expecting, though.
Not the party from Germany.
The swastika is a very ancient symbol, and it actually has deep ties to Hinduism and Shambhala and their beliefs. And that was more the symbol that he saw on these sides of these craft.
Yeah, in Hinduism, it means like rebirth or peace. It's like peace. The opposite of like that
of anything horrible. Yeah, it was a peaceful emblem.
Yeah,
they take him into this city that he describes as like a crystal city within the earth, underneath the sheets of ice.
City,
pretty much.
Krypton, baby.
When they land, these people approach him, and these people are blonde, tall,
Aryans,
and white, and they resemble, if you're familiar with different types of aliens, they resemble what are called the Nordics. Mm-hmm. The Nordic aliens are they're known for one specific thing. They like to get involved in nuclear weapons. They try and tell us, stop using nuclear weapons. Don't use these. This is bad. What you're doing to your planet is wrong. This has been their message. And if you want to dive deeper into that rabbit hole, there are tons of instances where they've been around nuclear sites and nuclear disasters and helped prevent them from being worse.
My theory is that it's not selfless or hey guys,
it's not a humanitarian effort to prevent war.
You're messing up our instruments.
Mm-hmm.
When you set off a nuke, it tears a hole in time space, and you actually killed my buddy Fred, who was going through a wormhole, and then you set off a nuke, and now he's gone.
Well, what if you were from inner Earth and there were nuclear weapons going off over you?
Yeah,
that would be just as awful.
Yeah,
and probably cause damage to your city.
Yeah, I think
that could be true.
I think it's not.
Yeah.
It's
well, that's their message to him. They say, so we keep an eye on mankind and the surface world.
Chernobyl incident.
Yeah. That's another where the Nordics had shown up. Chernobyl would have been 10 times worse, but there were reports that during the meltdown, a UFO flew overhead and actually cooled one of the cores that they weren't able to cool it themselves.
They couldn't have done themselves.
It was too late. They had lost control of the
And if you've
facility.
seen the show Chernobyl, they even explained it's too late. Nothing could have been done at this point.
It's over.
This is the end.
But a UFO shows up and something prevents it from being worse. And because of the Nordics' message, they believe that the Nordic UFOs were the cause of this.
They quelled it a little bit.
Exactly, to prevent it, from being as bad as it was.
Why? That's a question.
Right. So if it's a selfish motive, then I could see why they would fly over there and get involved.
Sure.
But that's their message to Bird. They say, we keep an eye on your technology, and you're playing with something that man wasn't ever meant to play with. Right? And you need to stop. I want you to go back to your world governments and tell them this message.
Yeah.
That the nuclear weapon detonation needs to end.
Yeah.
And that's it. And they let him go free with that message back to his president.
But he wrote that they weren't doing it in a threatening way, right?
It was not threatening. No.
It was just like, guys, stop.
Yeah. We were trying to help you.
Check it out.
Exactly.
Listen. Yeah.
This is a mission of mercy.
Yeah.
So yeah,
come from Mitch and Murray.
So yeah, this is that's Admiral Byrd's telling of what actually happened. When he gets to the Pentagon, he's silenced, but not before saying there is a new enemy that if we engage has the ability to fly from pole to pole instantly.
Yeah.
And they have these advanced crafts that he would have seen with his own eyes, and they took control of his. So that's a dangerous enemy to get involved with. So that takes us up into the 40s. And again, the Vril Society, dig into that if you're into this stuff. That is very real. We have a lot of evidence of what they were into and what their ideals were, and it matches up perfectly with Byrd's telling of the beings he met in Antarctica. So that's extremely interesting.
Hey guys, if you like that highlight for the full video, click right here.
And for related content, click right here.
And make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. Love you guys. Laters.